Hi, my name's Lily, and I am applying for the EPIK program for the fall 2025 intake. And I thought I would make a video just kind of talking about my experience with the application process, working with Corvia, and give you some tips and some helpful pointers to help you get off on the right foot if you are also going to apply for EPIK. So let's get into it. So, first things first, things I wish I knew going in. How expensive it is. It is actually so expensive just to apply. Just to apply. Um, I have spent hundreds of dollars in the application process alone, and that doesn't even guarantee I get a placement. I'm just spending that much money up front so that I can apply to get the job. Now, let me get into it. So, first off, you need a background check. And it can't just be a state level background check if you're like me from the United States. It is a federal level background check. And this background check needs to be apostilled before you send it overseas with the rest of your documents. Now, in order to get a federal background check, you need to get fingerprints. And you can technically print out the fingerprint paper and stamp your fingerprints yourself, mail them in to, I guess, the FBI's office or something. And that just takes a lot of time. And I also have too much anxiety to deal with that. I am not trying to accidentally not do my fingerprints correctly. So you can work with specific USPS offices that have a digital fingerprint scanner. However, it's only so many of the offices that have this, so you're going to have to look up who even is capable of doing this for you. And then it's going to cost you $50 up front just for them to scan your fingerprints and immediately send them to the FBI. And then that same day, you're probably going to get your background check back in the mail. And it's going to be frustrating that it costs $50 to do that, on top of however much it's going to cost in gas money to drive all the way to whichever location is capable of scanning your fingerprints. In fact, the first one I went to, which was the closest, they weren't answering their phone, and that should have been my first clue. And so we drove all the way over there, get there, and their fingerprint scanner is broken. So I had to go and reschedule when I was going to do this, and we had to go to one that was 2 hours away, I think. It was like 1.5 to 2 hours away. And I scanned them, and then I got it back same day. But $50, and this isn't including the fee that you also have to pay the FBI to do the background check. And I can't remember, it's pretty pricey, but I'm pretty sure just to get my fingerprints and background check was roughly $100 together. And then there's the apostling. And you have to have an apostilled copy of your bachelor's degree, and you need an apostilled copy of your background check. So Corvia, who I'll talk about more later, they recommend using Monument Visa because they handle a lot of the headache of getting it to the right people and having it at the correct level and that whole thing. So we worked with Monument Visa. And to get both of those documents apostilled was roughly 100 USD as well. It was maybe just under. So we've already spent $200 just on documents. Then for passport photos, because you need a passport style photo. I went to CVS. I think it's like $17 to get your passport photos through CVS. And then because, again, I am an anxious person and I'm not trying to be in a tough situation. And I know how things get lost in the mail, things get lost at home. So I got the digital copy so that I can just print out new ones if I need to. So all together, that was roughly $20. So we've got $220. And then you need your transcripts. You need 2 copies of your bachelor's or university, whatever, transcripts. And for me, it was $8 each, so that's $16. Now, I already had a passport, but I'm going to let you know, if you don't have your passport, you need your passport, and that getting your passport is going to be roughly 180 USD, if not more. I don't know if it costs more, but be prepared to spend at least that much. So then that would be another 180 USD. Luckily, I've got my passport, so didn't have to spend money on that. So then you have to mail all these documents. I mailed them to Corvia because they're my recruiter I'm working with, and I added it up, and it was roughly 321 USD just to apply, and that's not including if you need a passport. So if you need a passport, you need to be prepared to spend at least 500 USD. That's a lot of money just to apply for a job. So, again, I just thought I would let you know if you're going to be applying for EPIK in Korea, you need a ton of documents and they all need to be very specific, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost you a lot of money and a lot of time to get them. So be prepared for that. Another thing that I wish I was more aware of is just how long the application process is. Not even in terms of like how much documents you need to gather and like, applying and then the interview, not even just that. It's waiting. You're doing so much waiting. Now, I didn't even get my application in until April, but they opened applications in February. They don't even start doing interviews, at least they didn't for my intake, until like the end of April, beginning of May, somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure it was end of April they started conducting interviews. So imagine if you get if you're right on the ball and you're applying in February, you've sent in your application, and now you're waiting a few months before you even hear back about an interview. So that's a lot of waiting on top of once you send your documents. And again, I'm working with a recruiter, so you send your documents to Corvia, you wait for them to scan your documents, they tell you they're approved, then they mail them to EPIK's offices, and then you wait for them to say that they received your documents, and then you wait for them to say that they've put your documents in screening, and then you wait for them to tell you that they've been approved, and then you wait for them to tell you that you're in the recommendation process, and then you wait for them to tell you where you've been placed. So it's a lot of waiting. A lot of waiting. I'm currently where I'm at in the process is I just got my email this morning that my documents have been approved. So now I'm waiting for an email that's going to tell me that I'm in the recommendation process. If they even send that, because sometimes they don't even send that one apparently. So there's that. Oh, and one more thing. You're not going to know your orientation date nearly as soon as you're going to wish you did. Be prepared to be buying a plane ticket pretty late in the game. You're not going to know, and it's going to probably stress you out. You're going to feel like, man, those airplane tickets are just going up and up and up. And it doesn't matter. You're going to have to pay for it anyway. So just know that you're not going to know your orientation date until way into it. We have a tentative date right now, but it's not finalized. And I don't have a placement yet anyway, so I'm not going to be buying my plane ticket until I know for a fact that I have been hired. So, and again, we're mid-June, and the tentative date is like mid-August, so we're like 2 months away. I'm kind of stressed because I still have to get my placement and then get my NOA in the mail and then go to Chicago because that's my nearest Korean embassy and apply for my visa. So it's a little stressful, not gonna lie. Oh, and another thing you're gonna want to know. For your orientation, I learned this late into applying because I was reading up some of the extra stuff they send you, but I learned it later, and I'm gonna let you know up front that during your orientation, you will have to create another demo lesson or a lesson plan. You probably are going to have to present it. And so you're going to need either a laptop or a tablet. Now, most people probably already have a laptop or a tablet, but I don't. I have a desktop and I can't travel with a desktop. So that's another expense. I'm going to have to buy a laptop before I go to Korea. So that's fun for me. So yeah, if you don't own a laptop or a tablet that you can create a lesson plan on, just know you're gonna have to buy one because you will need it for your orientation, your first week there. So just so you know. So let's get into the thing people actually care about, and it's the interview. And I'll be honest, I was so incredibly stressed about this interview. It was like the scariest part of the whole process for me. And then it happens and you feel silly because it's the most painless thing ever. It's really not worth stressing over that hard, including the demo lesson, which was the part I was the most terrified of. And it turned out to be so painless. It's literally like nothing. It happens so fast you feel like you haven't even done enough. But let's get into the interview itself. So basically, to start off, your interview is just going to be clarifying things that you wrote on your application to EPIK. They're just going to ask you clarifying questions. Do not get long-winded. Don't over-explain. You need to be clear and concise. They don't really need all the details. They just need you to clarify. Just make it known, whatever it was that you answered, just so they understand you. And then you're going to get a series of yes or no questions. And it's just them making sure that you know what you're getting into, really, is what it is. So don't give more than yes or no. They're going to tell you when they're asking you yes or no questions. Just say yes or no. And now for the demo, you are likely, depending on your interviewer, some of them will let you present kind of whatever you want. But at least for me, my interviewer, she asked me to present something specific that I couldn't prepare for, except because I was working with Corvia, I was able to anticipate that this would happen. So I did prepare, actually. But it wasn't what was on my lesson plan that I submitted with my application. She asked me to do a demo on weather, is what it was. I had to do a demo on weather, and I was working with absolute beginners who had no experience with English, could not speak a word of it, and that part stressed me out because I was like, oh. And so then she gives you about 3 to 5 minutes to prepare, and then you have about 3 to 5 minutes to present. I think it's only 3 minutes, but I've heard it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure mine was only 3 minutes. So yeah, now again, I was prepared to do a presentation on weather. So, because I had heard that this was happening to people. So what I did the day before, or I think it was all morning actually before my interview, I prepared just a handful of flashcards. I just made some really big, really simple flashcards. I did it for weather. I did it for, describing people, short, tall. I drew these up myself and just made them really quick. And then I had one for colors, because colors was another one that they were doing. So, and basically the whole point of the demo is a vibe check. They just want to see your energy if you're going to understand the audience you're working with. So if you're working with absolute beginners in elementary school, it needs to be big smiles and really cute and bubbly. You cannot speak too fast. If they're absolute beginners, you need to speak loud and clear and slow. Okay, so here, I'm going to show you what I did. If you want to see how my demo lesson went, I'm just going to show you. It's so simple. It's literally just saying, doing hi, hello, hello class. Hello. Hello. Let's learn about weather. 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 Yeah, it's a lot of repeating, and you're going to feel like you didn't do anything. You're just talking bright, happy, big smile, and just repeating the same word and action over and over and over again. It's going to feel awkward, it's going to feel weird, and it's going to be over before you know it. You're going to feel silly. And I passed my interview. So if that tells you anything, I will say One of the best things for me in terms of making me feel prepared was I was looking up people doing English beginner demo lessons, and I found teacher Angie. I will like link her channel, and what she did, I was like, okay, I can do this because it's the most clear example of what is expected of you when you're presenting a demo lesson. Like all the way down to it's literally just you at a camera. Like turn yourself into Miss Rachel. There you go. You're just Miss Rachel for 3 minutes is really what it is. And that's all you got to do. It's so easy. And I highly recommend getting like some flashcards. You really only need maybe like 3 or 4. You don't need to prepare a lot, but do prepare. It'll make you feel better to have something to hold and show. You can pantomime things like that, but it feels nice to have something actually in your hand that you can show. It'll give you peace of mind. It'll help you focus on the lesson. So yeah, I do recommend that. And it's, again, so easy. It's so easy, so painless. And the interviewer is probably also going to kind of be like, okay, breathe. Like, she's going to be like, it's fine. I'm sure you were nervous, but it's okay. It's done now, you know? So it's just a vibe check. It's literally just to see if you can speak slow, loud, clear, and be welcoming and warm. I also want to go over the other kind of questions they might ask you during your interview. So, for example, expect these kinds of questions. You are going to without a doubt, you're going to be asked, why EPIK? Why South Korea? They'll also probably ask you if you have any experience in Korea. What do you know about Korea? If there's any culture shocks you can expect to experience. They're going to want to know, how are you going to handle cultural differences? They're going to want to know how you handle conflict, especially conflict in the classroom. Usually between you and your co-teacher, they want to know how you're going to handle that. And I'm going to promise you, the answer is not going to be to like try to force anything. It's going to be to try to be open-minded. I can promise you that. You don't want to answer anything that's going to sound like you're going to take charge. Like, be very culturally sensitive. That is the key. You need to be culturally sensitive to work in another country. Oh, and they're going to also ask you how you would handle a student answering questions wrong. That's probably a question they're going to ask. And so again, look into Korea's culture and try to answer with some cultural sensitivity. That's like my biggest tip for answering questions like that, is to keep Korean culture in mind when you answer those questions, because that's probably what they're looking for, is, are you going to be compatible in our country teaching? Like, is this something that you can actually handle? And are you going to be like self-aware or like aware of the cultural differences here and try to work with them instead of like against them, right? And just keep in mind too, if you've made it this far into the whole application process, if they're sending you an interview, it means you looked like a good candidate. Like, they already like you. They're just trying to get to know you on like a personal level. They're trying to like see how you carry yourself. Are you friendly? Because the whole interview is really going to be them seeing, how do you talk to other people? How do you carry yourself? And are you capable of following directions? Honestly, that's probably what they're doing. So just keep that in mind. Relax. Don't get too in your head. It's gonna be the fastest 40 minutes of your life, I promise. My final tips for you. Work with a recruiting agency. I was recommended by a friend who's already overseas teaching English in Korea. She recommended that I use Corvia, and I really like them. The staff is super nice. They're very welcoming, very friendly, always willing to help. Like, do not be afraid to ask them questions, because they're there to get you the job. Like, their whole job is to make you look good, to help you put your best foot forward. So trust them and ask them any questions you might have. And as far as Corvia is concerned, they actually have a Kakao Talk chat room where you can talk with other people who are also working with Corvia to apply for EPIK. and you can support each other. And when some of you get interviews before the others, like they will tell you like what they were asked, what was expected of them, who their interviewer was even, and it can help you prepare and know what to expect. And honestly, that was the most helpful for me outside of like looking up teacher Angie for the demo lesson, knowing that, you know, some of the interviewers were like throwing out, you know, curveballs and being like, okay, I want you to present this, which, you know, you can't prepare for. And so having other people in there to who already did it say this is what they're asking, and seeing a pattern of it's always this interviewer and they're always doing this, like it lets you go in with that mind, like knowing what to expect. And it's also just nice to have the camaraderie, you know, you're all kind of in it together and you're all supporting each other. And you know, sometimes, especially if you are from the same country and there's a question you have about getting certain documents and like where you have to go to do it, it's nice to have other people who are going through it with you. So I really recommend Corvia. I like them a lot. And like I said with teacher Angie, do your research. Do your research. Look up so many other people from the past who have done this work, who have applied, who have gone to Korea to teach English, and hear their stories and their experiences. It's going to make you feel so much more prepared. It's going to make the interview seem less scary because you know what to expect, on top of, you know, you have the Corvia group, right? Especially for demo lessons. Watch demo lessons. It doesn't matter if they're teaching kids in Japan or Brazil or wherever they may be. Any ESL demo lesson for beginners is going to help you a lot. It's going to help you a lot. So I recommend that. Teacher Angie, I think, teaches in Japan. So I used her video, and that really set me up for success, let me tell you. Um, oh, and big tip. Even if you haven't gotten your interview yet, get your documents ready. Get your documents, start working on that the minute you start applying. Start gathering those documents because it's going to expedite your process. It's going to give you something to do because the waiting part is the most stressful part. So if you have something that you can kind of focus on during that time, it's going to help you keep your head on straight, remember what the goal is. And also then once you do your interview, if you have all your documents, then you're just mailing them. Like it's like you can check off two things at the same time. It's so nice. Please, please just gather all your documents immediately, right when you start applying. And I'm sure most people will, but like, you never know. Some people might think I can't start until, no, start right away. Just get them all. Get them all. Okay. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Otherwise, I'm currently waiting to be recommended and get my placement. So once I get all that and I go to orientation and everything like that, I'll make another video going into all that. But if you're applying for the fall 2025 intake, or if you're preparing to apply next spring, I wish you luck and feel free to ask me questions. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Till then, see ya!